Robert Browning. Miss Barrett, 50 Wimpole Street, January 11th, 1845. I thank you, dear Mr. Browning, from the bottom of my heart. You meant to give me pleasure by your letter, and even if the object had not been answered, I ought still to thank you, but it is thoroughly answered. Such a letter from such a hand, sympathy is dear, very dear to me, and by the sympathy of a poet, and of such a poet, is a quintessence of sympathy to me. Will you take back my gratitude for it? Agreeing, too, that of all the commerce done in this world, from Tyre to Carthage, the exchange of sympathy for gratitude is a most princely thing. For the rest, you draw me on with your kindness. It is difficult to get rid of people when you notice have given them too much pleasure. That is a fact, and we will not stop for the moral of it. What I was going to say, after a little natural hesitation, is that if ever you emerge without inconvenient effort from your passive state, and will tell me of such faults as rise to the surface and strike you as important in my poems, for, of course, I do not think of troubling you with criticism in detail, you will confer a lasting obligation on me, and one which I shall value so much that I covet it at a distance. I do not pretend to any extraordinary meekness under criticism, and it is possible enough that I might not be altogether obedient to yours. But with my high respect for your power in your art and for your experience as an artist, it would be quite impossible for me to hear a general observation of yours on what appear to you my master faults, without being the better for it hereafter in some way. I ask only for a sentence or two of general observation, and I do not ask even for that, so as to tease you, but in the humble, low voice which is so excellent a thing in women, particularly when they go a-begging. The most frequent general criticism I receive is, I think, upon the style. If I would but change my style. But that is an objection, isn't it, to the writer bodily? Buffon says, and every sincere writer must feel, that le style c'est l'homme, a fact, however, scarcely calculated to lessen the objection with certain critics. Is it true that I was so near to the pleasure and honor of making your acquaintance? And can it be true that you look back upon the lost opportunity with any regret? But, you know, if you had entered the crypt, you might have caught cold or been tired to death and wished yourself 1,000 miles off, which would have been worse than traveling them. It is not my interest, however, to put such thoughts in your head about its being all for the best, and I would rather hope, as I do, that what I lost in one chance I may recover in some future one. Winter shut me up as I do dormouse eyes. In the spring we shall see, and I am so much better that I seem turning round to the outward world again. And in the meantime, I have learned to know your voice not merely from your poetry, but from your kindness in it. Mr. Kenyon often speaks of you, dear Mr. Kenyon. He most unspeakably, or only speakably, with tears in my eyes, has been my friend and helper, and my book's friend and helper, critic and sympathizer, true friend of all hours. You know him well, I think, to understand that I must be grateful to him. I'm writing too much, And notwithstanding that I'm writing too much, I will write one more thing. I will say that I am your debtor, not only for this cordial letter and for all the pleasure which came with it, but in other ways, and those the highest. And I will say that while I live to follow this divine art of poetry, the proportion of my love for it and my devotion to it, I must be a devout admirer and student of your works. This is on my heart to say to you, and I say it. And for the rest, I am proud to remain your obliged and faithful Elizabeth B. Barrett. Now,